If you wanted to switch to test prop, and if you knew the average dose range that just dialed people in without the need for the use of an AI, that also dialed in libido, erections, climax, sensation, and general sexual function, especially if you're having a hard time on cypionate or enanthate, wouldn't you just switch? I think the answer would be yes. If you could get DHT in the sweet zone, but importantly, estradiol in the sweet zone, and you didn't have to be convoluting your protocol with the use of Aromacin or Arimidex or even Masteron, and you could once and for all just set it and forget it and regain sexual function and move on with your life, I think you would do it. So what I'm going to do is break down, over the years in coaching and using prop, I popularized prop on YouTube, and now a lot of people use it. I've got a lot of information about what works, and in this video, I'm revealing it all. We'll talk about estimated where the estrogen is going to land on what doses of prop and what ranges and what protocols just work the best. All right, before we start the video, look, Cortex Labs, which is my company, is a TRT guidance, sexual dysfunction resolution, performance optimization company. Again, I have just opened up 20 more slots. I got 10 people closing this month and 5 additional people closing in September. So I've got more room. 20 more slots on the 50% discount on TRT, HRT, libido, EQ coaching. Boys, this is the biggest discount that I've ever run. And if you've been eyeing some of these coaching packages and just kind of looking at the rates and be like, yeah, maybe some other time, now is the time to pull the trigger. 20 more slots open, boys. 50% off. Code Coach Discount. You book, we're on the fact-finding call as soon as today. Source list, 30% off. Code is Source30. Code is Source30. Code is on the screen down the description of this video. All right, now look, I have sufficiently made the point that test prop for some individuals can be extremely easy to dial in and is the savior for sexual function, especially when you're on a long ester and you just can't get it straight. Let's go to one of the holy grails that convey this point exactly. This thread, switch to prop from enanthate. Holy F. Bottom line is this guy was on enanthate, okay, with high E2 at no matter what dose, which equaled no libido, low energy, depression, and anxiety, then got his test to 1500 and estrogen under control, but no boners. Sound familiar to some people? Guy gives the enanthate that he was taking a break, and then on Monday comes around and pins 30 milligrams of prop. And then the next day, which was the day that he wrote this, another 30 milligrams of prop. He goes, holy fuck, it woke me the fuck up. LOL, hella energy. Boners through the roof, no brain fog or lethargy like enanthate or high E2. But fair warning, because he's still got enanthate in the system, so it's a lot of tests at once. I'm way too overstimulated. Yeah, it feels like a couple espressos when you inject that prop. It's actually pretty amazing. Another guy, test prop is way different for TRT. Essentially the same situation. Run along esters, can't dial in, switch to prop 10 milligrams every day, and libido and function has gone from 0. How is it 0 on TRT? This is the problem with long esters sometimes. They're just notoriously hard to dial in. From 0 to 100. Teenager-like feeling. But I think this is the real crux of the issue when it comes to long esters versus test prop. And then we're going to get to the ideal doses. Look at this. I asked chat to break down a comparison between test prop in terms of aromatization and testosterone cypionate. And look at what it spit out. At 15 milligrams a day, okay, this first line here, which is test prop, it's got the E2 at 25 to 35 picograms per milliliter. That's going to be different for different people. It's actually usually a lot lower. But on test sip, the same dose, 15 milligrams a day, it's got it at 35 to 50. Now, this is for an average aromatizer. If you're really controlling for aromatization, even on 15 milligrams of cypionate a day, you can get that down within range, but you got to be controlling for aromatization. Optimizing thyroid hormones, staying lean, not drinking a lot of booze, those kinds of things. 20 milligrams a day of prop. It's got you at 35 to 45. Again, for some people, that's the sweet zone in estradiol. Above that, shit gets a little wacky. Below that, it's fine until it hits below 20. But on SIP, same dose of 20 milligrams a day. People rarely don't need estrogen control in 20 milligrams a day of cypionate. It's got it 45 to 60. The trend here is that with prop, you are aromatizing less. But why? Let's go to why prop aromatizes less. Chat thinks Because of the shorter half-life, there's less cumulative substrate for aromatase enzymes to act on. This makes sense. Lower hepatic exposure. Remember, in the liver where you've got a lot of hepatic aromatase, you do a lot of conversion of test to estradiol. But frequent small doses don't spike the liver aromatase like larger cypionate shots do. Chat claims that there is a better support for DHT via a higher DHT ratio. I found this to be true even on 30 milligrams, 40 milligrams prop a day, kind of pushing the higher limits for prop. I start to notice a degree of hair loss. It's mainly just very mild shedding that's kind of inconsequential, but that's the DHT, boys. And as we know, DHT downregulates aromatase gene expression at the tissue level. We've been over this. The studies support that. That's why DHT and DHT derivatives are counter to estradiol. And then, of course, daily dosing, if you've got the right dose of prop, limits these superphysiological spikes that activate estrogen conversion in the adipose tissue and in the liver. Okay, so moving on from that, let's just get to the dose range. The dose range I've seen work after years of coaching on test prop to not need an AI and to be dialed in terms of libido erections is 15 to 25 milligrams of test prop a day. You do that intramuscularly. If you want to avoid the PIP, inject in the upper glute with a 5/8 inch needle. To aid that situation, you could also warm the test prop vial in a cup of warm water for 5 minutes before you inject. If you were to dial that sweet spot of 15 to 25 milligrams in a little further, I would confidently say, based on client data, that most people do not need an AI at 15 to 20 milligrams of test prop a day. But guess what you're going to get with 15 to 20 milligrams of test prop a day? Between 700 and 1,000 nanograms per deciliter total test, mid to high range DHT, and estradiol in the sweet spot. I mean, boys, that's the recipe. If you're having trouble dialing in at higher doses, can't take an AI, you have side effects, etc., you got to get the estradiol in the range, and you have to have enough DHT. Fast-acting stuff like cream, but also prop, are perfect for that. Now, I think the question should be posed, like, where should you start on that dose range? If you're at 15 milligrams of prop to 25 milligrams of prop, should you start at the high end of that dose range, or should you start at the low end of the dose range? And I think the answer to that question is, it really depends on how you want to play this. If you start at the high end of the range, at least then you generally want to be able to validate or invalidate if you can tolerate higher doses, because the more androgens you're going to get, the better you're going to feel, the more dopamine hits you're going to get, the more that assertive, confident energy you're going to have, and ultimately the higher the DHT, which is going to equal better erections. So if you start at 25 milligrams a day of prop, I would suggest a modest dose, 50 to 100 IU of HCG every day. Throw in 20 milligrams DHA. Those are good, necessary things for most people to have in the protocol. Not going to aromatize a lot with 100 IU of HCG a day. And you find the E2 at between 25 and 35 picograms per milliliter, well, that would indicate you're a pretty good aromatizer. Like, your aromatization is under control. You're lean, your thyroid hormones are optimal, you don't drink a lot, you don't smoke pot, you don't do things that are estrogenic. There, if you go around estradiol sensitive, while you're simultaneously noticing that libido and erections are coming back and they have come back and everything's working again, that's it. You stay at the 25 milligram dose. Plenty of people set it and forget it on 25 milligrams of prop a day. It's just easy. Yeah, is it a little painstaking or cumbersome to inject every day? Is there a slight PIP no matter what you do? Yeah, but the tissues get used to that and that goes away. But if you run that and you recognize estrogen shooting up to 45, maybe even 50, now you have room to go down. And with prop, everything goes down really, really quickly. So immediately when you change the dose of prop, you're going to notice the difference in a couple days. So say you're at 45 estradiol with 25 milligrams of prop a day. You don't like that. Sexual function's all right, but you know it could be better. Just drop to 20 milligrams a day, okay? You take it down to 20 milligrams a day. Within 2 days, the total test is going to drop, which means the substrate for aromatization is going to be less, and the estradiol is going to drop via you clearing estrogens from your system. We do that all the time. And because of the trough in prop, which happens at nighttime, if you're injecting during the day, you wake up the next morning with lower E2. So you can't just accumulate estradiol as you would on longer esters, especially at higher doses. So you move it down to 20. Likely at that point, if you're at 45 at 25 milligrams, 45 of estradiol, going to be like 35, 30 to 35, right? Now, that might be the sweet zone. Again, you get above 40, 45, that's where you start running into issues, but some guys can easily tolerate 35, especially with the elevated DHT and the elevated test. So you find your 20 milligram dose, you got your HGD and DHA at low doses, you're right off into the sunset. It's easy to dial in. It takes days to notice a dose change. But say that doesn't work. See, then you get to go down again. You get to go down to 15 a prop. I've seen guys at 15 milligrams of prop a day go to above 1,500 on total testosterone, the most accurate testosterone lab readings. It runs the gamut. I mean, it's kind of rare, but you could be making a lot of tests at even 15 milligrams of prop a day. And considering that DHT to test ratio regarding prop and the less cumulative aromatization, you're probably going to end up at a better estradiol reading even at 1,500 total test. But okay, maybe you're still a little over at 20 milligrams a day. You move down to 15 milligrams a day. See where you end up, right? You're probably going to notice, like, if libido erections were okay at 20 milligrams a day, but estrogen was still a little over range, you go down to 15, it solves the problem. E2 goes right in that sweet spot, that like 85, I would estimate, percent, probably more guys on TRT need to be, which is 20 to 30 picograms per milliliter of estrogen. Worst case scenario, you are kind of an over aromatizer and you gotta run 10 milligrams a day of prop. Again, that Reddit thread that we were just discussing before, that guy's on 10 milligrams a day. Libido and erections went from 0 to 100. That's all you could ask for. And it's a pretty fucking awesome gift. Now look, in the 15 to 25 milligram dose ranges where most folks are not going to have to take an AI and they're going to be able to dial in. But this doesn't mean that you can't dose higher doses of prop. Listen, if you can find the right dose of Masteron or Primobolan, because I think those are better than AIs, at low doses, you'd probably be looking at 10 to 50 milligrams a day on those compounds, maybe 10 to 50 milligrams every other day. Well, then you can be dosing 50, 60, 70 milligrams of prop and get all the DHT, right? All the anabolism, all that dopamine synthesis, and all of the energy. A prop is by far the best ester for that. I've run all manner of prop protocols ranging from 50 milligrams a day with a little bit of aromasin to 40 milligrams a day with some calcium glucarate and zinc, dialed that in, to 70 milligrams a day with 3 pumps of cream per day. I mean, it's like 700 milligrams a week or something, total androgens, 12.5 milligrams aromasin once every 7 days, and I was dialed in. I had no side effects. Everything was great. I was a walking erection. It was fucking phenomenal. So you don't have to go to these lower doses necessarily. It's just that the condition is if you're going to go to higher doses of prop, you have to be able to dial in estrogen control, because rarely above 40 milligrams of prop are you going to aromatize into the sweet zone, right? It's probably going to be over. And to add on the benefits of prop versus cypionate or enanthate, the same dose of cypionate or enanthate, like call it, say you land on 20 milligrams of prop. You try running 20 milligrams of the long esters, because it cumulatively builds up and slowly releases, you get a fraction of that dopamine synthesis and that energy hit that you do with prop. So, I mean, listen, before talking about hormones, I was into nootropics. Prop is like one of the best nootropics you could ever take. With daily injections of prop, you get stable daily peaks, which in some sense do mimic diurnal secretion of testosterone. So it's much more bioidentical, if you will, of an ester. The bottom line is this with prop on why 15 to 25 milligrams a day is like the hormonal Goldilocks zone, which is what you're trying to target here. Number one, I mean, it's not high enough to massively aromatize into estradiol. Number two, it's high enough, though, because of the speed of the peak to elevate DHT and to elevate free testosterone. Number three, estrogen is going to rise on prop for sure, but it's likely in that dose range to land within the good sexual function range. So you avoid erectile crashes from over-aromatization, and you avoid brain-level suppression of libido due to over-aromatization. Because prop is a pretty heavy DHT-centric compound, you've got DHT dominance. This is what you want in a TRT protocol, because it equals more androgen receptor activity, which equals less aromatase activity. Another thing that people don't know about this is what it looks like is you have less estrone buildup from using prop versus longer esters. You're minimizing liver aromatization expression via not constantly saturating the body with an aromatizable androgen. Again, you have these troughs with prop. And if it troughs while you sleep, even better. Then the cognitive benefits. On prop, man, look, guys, if you feel mentally sharp, ask anybody. Watch the comments section here. Look at all the prop videos and watch people describe how much better they feel cognitively and mentally on test prop versus longer esters. You're horny more often on prop. I mean, you're just getting a straight shot of test and DHT. Erections are firm. You're often going to find people on Cypionate or anything can't dial in, they just switch to prop and they don't even approach it like super judiciously, and then erections are firm again. Importantly, though, it's like you don't have some of the side effects that may come along with higher doses of the longer esters. Like you don't feel emotional, you don't feel puffy, you don't feel sluggish, and you don't have these weird things that happen like desensitization to your climax. Over the years, I have seen people dial in very successfully on the 15 to 25 milligram dose range of test prop. I would suggest starting at the top and working your way down, running estradiol sensitive along the way so that you have benchmarks and you understand exactly where you're at. But in the end, if you're spinning your wheels on 200 a week of Cypionate and you're ready to make that push, my data shows me 15 to 25 milligrams of prop daily is the best dose range to dial in, not only without an AI, but to regain sexual function. All right, boys, as I said in the beginning, the most important thing to focus on right now is that the coaching discount has been extended. I've got 10 people dropping off in August. We are closing our sessions, a significant amount more in September. I'm going to open up more slots. 20 more slots have just opened up. This is 50% off, guys. It's the biggest discount I've ever run on coaching. Listen, if you're trying to get libido and erection straight on TRT and you're having a difficult time, this is what I've been doing for years. It's what I dedicate most of my waking hours to. Bottom line is, whatever issues you're having regarding EQ and libido on HRT, TRT, we'll get them fixed. Go to the coaching page, you add whatever coach in your cart. On the checkout page, you enter the code COACH discount. You're going to see thousands of dollars come off. Some of these packages that you guys have been wanting to do with me, now you can do them. You can do them literally today. All right, book with me, but we'll be on a fact-finding call as soon as today. I've got a lot of time still and a lot of open slots. All right, I'd love to have you on board. Go book livecortex.com. Source list, 30% off, boys. 30% off. Code for that is source30. I'll leave it on the screen for a sec. It's also down in the description of this video. Go grab it. You'll thank me later. All right, it's been an absolute pleasure. We've reached the end of the video. Thanks for being with. Hold on. What is wrong with this chair? God, damn it! Sorry, I had another rough night last night. I gotta get my shit together. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the fact that you guys have been with me. Mike, not even gonna comment on it. Just grab it real quick. I keep forgetting it. I don't know why I do that. What's going on here? Give me this. Yeah. No. Video's over. Been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you, boys. I hope you're having a great week. Much more content coming soon. Live stream tomorrow, somewhere around 11 a.m. Eastern time, so be there. 2 favors, if you would. Like the video. Like the video. Makes a big difference. It would mean a lot to me if you would just hit the like button. Honestly, I need to get those likes up, boys. Sub to the channel. Join one of the fastest growing TRT channels that talks about libido and EQ, dialing in on TRT from a scientific and experience-based perspective. I'd love to have you on board. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you boys in the next one.